When you stop writing, how do you stay involved in the graffiti culture? Do you stay involved, or you totally?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different direction now. You know, now I'm more of a custodian. I feel like there's a huge responsibility to document the history of Los Angeles graffiti art, and so with my publishing partner Relax, we set out to do so.
As you bow out of graffiti, a new generation takes it up, but things get dark and graffiti transition into the tag banging era. How do you define this tag banging era, and what made writers and crews tag bangers?
Yeah, that's a good question for someone that was involved in that. I do define that as the Dark Ages, but then you had the Renaissance and Euler and Decline and Tulse taking us out of those Dark Ages, and really you've seen that resurgence of real graffiti coming, and you know, Euler brought me back. I did another tour with him, and we killed it. RTD Killers, IFK, yeah.
Would the older generation of writers talk about the tag banging era? What were their thoughts on it?
No one really talked about it.
As a historian, when did Los Angeles graffiti make it out of the tag banging dark ages?
In '94. Yep.
In your book, which we'll cover later, you named the years following the tag banging era the Ayer days. Who was Ayer? Can you tell us about him?
Yes, Ayer was someone I've never met. I would have loved to put him in IFK, but I just never met him.
Do you remember first hearing about Ayer, and what were your thoughts on his work?
I never heard of him. I saw him. I saw his work. His work speaks for himself. Yeah, he was a man that was ahead of his time. Rest in peace, Ayer.
How would you say he changed graffiti forever?
You know, the way he did his spots and the multiple colors in his pieces. He's a daredevil interstate freeway killer that was in KOG and LTS.
Can you name a few of the other writers who helped transition from the tag banging era to the new Ayer era, as you call it in your book?
Well, I say the Renaissance.
The Renaissance.
Yeah, the Renaissance took us out of the Dark Ages, and that was Euler and Decline and Tulse. But then, you know, as you get into the 2000s, and I mean, there was writers that were writing in the late 90s, you know, and they were starting to make their mark in LA history, and that's something that we cover. And I mean, Ayer was really, you know, the forefront of all that, but you had a lot of good friends of his also doing the same thing, you know, Revoke, Saber, those guys were, you know, Zest, those guys were killers. Right.
On the same note, a new crew called LTS begins to make waves.
Not a new crew.
Not a new crew?
Not a new crew. LTS has been around for a very long time. It was started by Sane, who I went to school with at uni. Yeah, so that's how long I've known him. And he started KOG. So KOG was, you know, just a brother crew of LTS. And, you know, oh, they go way back, man. They're not new.
New recruits of LTS, this new era of LTS, starts using paint in their throw-ups. They start using rollers, breaking some of the traditional rules of graffiti.
Yeah.
They also bend.
Go ahead.
They also bend letters in this new type of style. What was the older writers' reaction to this new crew? Do you recall? Not new crew, but new
style.
New style.
Yeah.
Rollers, paint.
Yeah, it's just the evolution of graffiti. No one had an opinion of it. Those guys were just doing their thing, you know.